Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our June Mid-Market Tech Talk. We have a fun panel today with Randy and Jack from Mainline, and of course, our host, Roger Caston, who are going to be talking about how to reduce your IT costs and also simplifying your IT operations. So with that, Roger, I will pass it off to you.
Thank you very much, Kat, and greetings to everybody. Glad you could join us for this session. And what I'd really like to do is give Randy Moeller and Jack Mason an opportunity to introduce themselves and let everybody know what it is they do or specialize in. Randy, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I happily can. I'm a little nervous now that you told me I had to specialize in something because I really didn't know if I was good at anything. But maybe my mom's out there listening and she would chime in with something positive that I'm good. But no, in reality, I'm Randy Moeller. I run the Central Region for Mainline, which consists of everything from Minnesota down through Missouri over through Western Pennsylvania and everything in between. So I have a team of sales specialists at Mainline that we really focus on listening to the customer, understanding what their needs are, and designing solutions and architecting things that fit well in what they're trying to accomplish on anything from hardware infrastructure to software to application performance to networking, security, etc. So my team of 17 or so reps out there have a plethora of technical talent. Including Jack Mason, who's on the phone. He can introduce himself and give his background here shortly. But prior to being the VP of Sales here, I was a rep for 13 years, and prior to that, I was an SE, a system engineer, and install and pre-sale systems engineer. So that's been my career at Mainline, which is in the 17th year here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jack and let you introduce yourself, Jack, and what you do here at Mainline.
Thanks, Randy. Yes, I work with Randy's team. I'm a systems engineer that focuses on storage. So I support the 17 reps that Randy has working for him in what I'll call the Big 10 region, all over the Midwest here. 38 years in the industry, and it's been focused primarily on storage, both disk and tape, mainframe and distributed systems. So I've been very familiar with the Flash Systems product, and right from the beginning, I've been 17 years here at Mainline with Randy, and looking forward to this.
Well, that's an impressive run on both of your parts, but it's good because we now know that Jack is apparently the real brains here behind things. So
that shouldn't even be that apparent. That should have been very visible right out of the gate. But 2005 was a very good new customer orientation.
Well, this is really great, guys. And we know Mainline has a really fantastic reputation out there. And I'm just curious, are there areas where, I guess, Randy, I'll ask you, where you have, I don't want to say the hardest time, but what are some of the most difficult challenges that you face when you're dealing with clients, particularly if it's a new client for you?
Really, I would say the most difficult challenge going into as you specified, a net new customer or a new client would be getting them to really expound on their entire environment, right? Like when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I want a storage array," right? I'm going to pick on storage, right? Because that's what we're all here for. That's when customers will say, "I want a storage array." Well, what goes into that decision is a much bigger ask for what Mainline's trying to accomplish with the client is, well, what is the best storage array for what you're trying to do, right? And in order for us to understand what you're trying to do, I want to know what you're currently managing, today, what types of storage you have out there, what is your existing fiber network look like, what does your application servers look like, what are the applications that are primarily running in your environment, how are you monitoring them, what's it talking to. I want to know everything I possibly can about you before I want to position the right storage array for you, right? So the key is we ask a lot of questions, and I don't want to say customers or clients are they don't want to give us this information. They happily will, but oftentimes they'll be like, why does this necessarily matter? Just give me a storage array, right? This is what I want. In fact, I want you to quote this exact thing. And I'm like, well, what if I don't think that exact thing is what's going to fit your environment the best? Our role as a partner is to be a true partner and provide that lowest time to value is what I like to refer to it as. So as we're sitting down, what fits best for you in your specific case that is the least that gets you to the most value as fast as possible. Because if you have duplicate lease payments, if you have to go deal with other maintenance, if you have to deal with all sorts of things in this transition period, it costs money, right? So it doesn't matter if the XYZ storage array is 50 grand more or less than the other one. If it takes you 6 months to get up and running, you've easily burned through that 50 grand in a use case. So it's understanding what it is that we're trying to solve for and knowing the whole pie, not just the slice of it, if that makes sense.
That actually makes perfect sense, and I'm really glad to hear you say that, because that certainly matches or lines up with my experience with clients, that sometimes it feels like you're pulling teeth to get the information you need to just help them with their situation. And the other thing, at least I've noticed out there, is the close but not perfectly lined up nomenclature that all the different vendors use.
Sure.
And I've had interesting discussions with clients where we went on and on before we both realized we were saying exactly the same thing. We were just using different verbiage to talk about it because one vendor uses a certain set of phrases and another uses different. Jack, I'm interested in something, I don't want to necessarily say from the technical side, but really, again, it's more curiosity. As you're dealing with clients, certainly as we progressed, say, over the last 5+ years, what kind of mix are you seeing? Are most of your clients still utilizing fiber channel? And I realize this is painting with a broad brush, or are most of them transitioning towards or using IP? What are you seeing out there as you're dealing with clients?
No, that's a great question. So over the last 5 years, it had been strong on the fiber channel, as you can imagine. And as we've been transitioning towards more of the IP and the cloud and things like that, what I've found is customers have not set that IP strategy yet. They're still trying to figure it out because they have horror stories from this customer and that. Mainline tries to help them figure out what it is and the best, just as I want to echo what Randy was saying. We want to know everything so we can go in and help you. But to answer your question specifically, what I've been seeing is customers will fall back to the fiber channel because it's the tried and true, while they at the same time are trying to figure out what they're going to do with IP, what they're going to do with cloud. I hope that this is the year that they finally get that straight and we can start making those decisions on, okay, what is the best, fiber channel or IP for you, as opposed to, well, we can't figure out the cloud yet, so sell us some fiber channel. And so it's still strongly fiber.
Well, and
Okay.
I'm gonna piggyback on his answer and kind of speak to it from a sales perspective, because the one thing that I think has shifted in the last, for sure, 10 years, if not just 5 years, is clients aren't necessarily saying anymore, oh, I'm an EMC shop. Everything's EMC. Or I'm an all IBM shop. Or I'm a this shop, right? We're moving into a time where it's very much purpose-built devices for the purpose it's trying to get to. And it's how do we integrate those into our existing framework, right? What really I think spurred it was when VMware started doing all the vSAN stuff to say, I'm now building storage into these boxes because I can build a better SAN specifically for VMware than anything else. So that then kind of punctured it. And you can see all the other vendors out there that go in and say, that are not me too's to EMC, but saying I'm specifically going after EMC to say, if you've got a Power Max, I'm going, or a Clarion of the day or whatever, I'm specifically building a box to say I'm a pure storage box. I'm going to compete against that, right? And that's all I want. It's fiber channel. I'm going after that, right? And then but they don't have an answer on other platforms, right? Until they then develop it later. So we're moving very much into a customers want the right storage for the right specific application or thing that they're trying to deploy. And to parlay that, you're getting customers that are saying, okay, this is my VMware environment. I have VMware storage. So just to kind of summarize, you're not seeing I'm all Dell, or you can be. I'm not seeing all IBM. I'm not seeing all Dell. I'm seeing this is my problem, and I have to get stuff into object storage to tier it to the cloud, like Jack's talking about. I've got NFS I've got to deal with. I've got how am I tiering between all this stuff, and where's the data, right? So that's from a sales perspective. I think that's the other thing we're seeing in a shift.
Okay, that's actually interesting, and that's good to hear. Since I'm with IBM, I'll just say that vendors aren't necessarily hearing that same message. I think a lot of the people that work for various vendors hear it. So I'm glad to hear you, espouse that, because I think, again, that certainly matches up with the reality that I've seen out in the marketplace, and that desire to have the right product for the right job, as opposed to the old days where you just shoehorned everything into a single solution. And I've yet to meet the single solution that can do that job. I mean, I'd like to think we have some that are pretty capable, but realistically, I think what you've both said is right on the money. I am curious, and I guess I'll just state a bias on my part. It should come as no surprise to anybody listening, but one of the things that attracted me to IBM was historically I've been a hardware person, and particularly performance-oriented hardware. When I was with LSI and when I was with NetApp, I was one of the two representatives for the Storage Performance Council, and just involved in a lot of benchmarking activity. And when I came to IBM, one of the draws had been IBM's acquisition of what we know today as Flash System. Texas Memory Systems was the company, and they were really fast storage. And as I worked with the Texas Memory Systems, now Flash System folks, I watched them develop what we call today the Flash Core module that we find in a Flash System 5200, 7300, 9500, and really became a fan. I'm impressed with the performance of the product, the stability of the product, but also the value because of the built-in compression. And, and I realize I'm setting you guys up. And so if you disagree with me, it's going to look bad for me, but I'll accept it. I'm just curious, what has been your experience with clients and in particular flash system modules from IBM?
Well,
I'll take that first. I was a fan of the FlashCore module from day one. And I think it was a learning curve on the customer's part to understand and appreciate the value that came with the FlashCore modules, not just above just regular flash, but just in the IBM scheme of storage. FlashCore modules set it apart. And now that we're on, generation 3 of that with the 3-to-1 compression built in, I absolutely see that that is the only flash product worth touting in front of a customer. And then you take the flash watch, which with the guarantees on, the wear and tear and all the things that IBM built into the FlashCore module that the competition just simply can't touch. Yes, I'm a huge fan of FlashCore module, and I only propose FlashCore modules with my systems.
I would say from a sales perspective, also going back historically, it was what IBM did with the Texas Memory System acquisition. I remember Texas Memory System was the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first company to say, you need a purpose-built storage device for this. If you're a high-frequency trader or somebody that needs that super low latency storage, they were buying Texas Memory Systems, and we were selling Texas Memory Systems back in the day, right? In their primary competition became Violin Networks Violin Networks at the time, and they came out with a product that was inferior to what Texas Memory Systems was, and this is before IBM added all the extra cool stuff on like the software and stuff. But they came out. And the only reason they were mildly successful is they had a super sexy marketing package, right? Like they were selling it because they could make it purple and they could make it, colors and all sorts of things and be like, this is better than Texas Memory Systems. And, Texas Memory Systems at the time was very much just, hey, we don't really market all that much and it's super fast, it's super low latency. It's only built for this. I can't give it to you however you want it. It's sold like this. If you want this, it'll be fast. If you don't want that, not for you, right? Now, when IBM acquired it, what you've done with the product over the last 10 years or so, I think, is bring in all the software and features and functionality that a regular SAN or storage array has and implemented that on the super fast platform that Texas Memory System has always been known for, which then creates two different types, right? Like you've got your super ultra low latency, but then you also add on to that okay, I can now do thin provisioning. I can do these other these other things that customers are looking for, and you've expanded the use case from I just need really, really fast disk to run my one application and give it direct access, and I don't need to worry about RAID. I don't need to worry about this and I've just expanded the use cases, and you've created a product that is, pound for pound, one of the fastest arrays out there, storage-wise, from a latency perspective and throughput perspective, as well as having enough features that customers can use it at a price point that's ridiculously low. So you end up with a great bang for your buck on a storage platform that you can still scale in your different sizes of what that is, but it's a very well done storage solution that doesn't have every bell and whistle that other competition has or whatever, but you focus on what's going to continue to drive my speed and performance. And if you need those other features, I question whether you do or not, but if you do, this isn't the right fit for it. But I'm not going to sacrifice what I'm giving you, which is speed, performance, throughput.
Well, that actually makes me feel really good about working at IBM. So I'm really pleased to hear that. And for anybody who's listening, these are not rehearsed questions. These are, we're just here to chat. And so I'm going to ask a question that I should probably know better, but I'm just curious because you guys, Mainline is a major player out there. And in the flash system 52, 73, and 95, where does your company see the majority of the IBM flash system sales going? Which product seems to be hitting the mark, I guess, from a volume standpoint?
I mean, from a sales perspective, I would tell you what the biggest, I would say, competitive advantage out there for IBM is on that platform is the 5000 series, because it's low entry point and it's small footprint, right? Like, I'm not going in there with the 5000 series trying to pitch a petabyte, right? But for use cases that I need to have 100 to 200 terabytes at a manufacturing facility or a retail store or something like or an insurance agency somewhere that has a small data center or a smaller data center in there, that 5000 you can't beat from a price performance perspective. So, right. And where you're also seeing a success is you don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles and the features and the dedupe and all that stuff that's not on that box. You don't need that in a small environment. You're purely putting it behind like a small VMware cluster environment that you still want to have, a high performing environment there where what the use case is right there is a great one, right? Small VMware nodes. You're not managing it. You don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles of integrations of 5000 in with VMware and all this other stuff, because it's just running on kind of a partial island somewhere. So I really like that box. When you get bigger than that, I think the 7000 is also right in the line with where you're seeing a lot of higher dollar transactions because they're bigger, right? Like I would tell you, again, this is not your IBM technical point, but there's very few accounts that a 7000 won't fit that you need a 9000. So I have yet to say, oh, you just met the clip to move you to a 9000. You can't outrun the 7000. So you should just get rid of the 9000 series, stick with the 5 and the 3.
Jack, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean, that was perfect, Randy. And then it goes to the family of product that IBM offers in that 5000, 7000, 9000, which differentiates them from anybody else in the market. This family has the same feature function, whether you start with the 5000, I agree with Randy, it is a nice purpose-built box that will fit most situations. And the 7000 for those higher performing ones, it has everything that the 5000 has. So, I mean, you go to other manufacturers and you don't get that. You have to go to a different product line, a different operating system, stuff like that. That doesn't happen with Spectrum Virtualized and the flash systems in particular. But then I do agree with Randy. I've been hard pressed. I've only been able to justify a 9000 on one occasion. The 7000 does fit the bill for most of those larger shops.
Excellent. And I don't disagree with either of you. While I would love to be involved in more 9500 deals, it's a small number because it's just an unbelievable amount of horsepower. And you just don't run into those opportunities that often, particularly as you step outside of North America. They exist, but they tend to be less common in other geographies. Well, I want to bring this around to something, a feature or an ability that I'm really partial to, and it is one of the annoying things of being inside a company is you see development going on, but it never happens as fast as you want. And years ago, I was quietly told that, hey, we're trying to take the mainframe, the DS8K capability for safeguarded copy and move that to Spectrum Virtualize. And they wanted to talk about if I thought there would be interest in that. Like, I'm not even sure how you could ask that question. There would be nothing but interest
Right.
in that ability. And yeah, lo and behold, finally, July last year, they introduced safeguarded copy for Spectrum Virtualized. So flash system 527395 or SAN volume controller has that ability. Have either of you gentlemen already been working with or involved with clients that are utilizing that capability at this point?
So what I've done is I've gone back to all of my existing flash system customers and told them, you know what? You've got this new feature that's free. All you need to do is turn it on. And it's already built in. You have cybersecurity on the product. It was future-proof for that when we sold it to you, and now let's go ahead and implement it. And so we are in the early stages of doing a couple of installs on existing boxes. When I go with my new opportunities, I always include that. And so everything that I've got out there now not only includes what we're talking about in terms of fitting the storage for the application they need, but I want to get that safeguarded copy in there so they understand that we can, at no additional charge, get them a cyber secure. So yes, this is a very busy time since they introduced safeguarded copy on Spectrum Virtualized for us to go back to those old customers and introduce new customers.
From a sales side, I'll echo what Jack said, but I will tell you, like yesterday, I had the entire Michigan team together and we walked through a simulated ransomware attack. So we all had our different roles and we walked through what a customer has to deal with regards to a ransomware attack. And it was a story, it was an entire thing that was put together, and you're walking through the moment you find it or the moment the SOC finds it to finding the text file that has this is where you're going to need to go, this address on this Tor browser, this is how much the ransom is, this is how you're going to pay it, and then it walks through the proceedings of how to handle this and what this fictitious company did through this whole process to be down for basically a month. It was 2 weeks before they paid the ransom, and then it was another 2 weeks to use the decryption key to actually get all of their data back, which was surprising that it worked. But you get to feel, we felt as a team what the different emotions are from a customer in their different roles, going down from CIO to CISO to IT guys to SOC dude to security analyst to all these different things. And you realize that the bad guys are very smart, right? And they're not dumb. They're out there to do everything they can to effectively take you down, right? So they can extort you for money. And what I look at safeguarded copy is it's not the answer to ransomware, right? But it's another option that you're going to have in your toolbox at no additional charge for if that time ever does happen, right? So I'm going to take backup and recovery. Backup and recovery has become the top priority of every company now because backups are the most important thing because which used to be not the most important thing. It used to be the lowest thing on any IT person's budget is backups. Now it's the number one thing on the security people is I need backups. I need backups that work. I need an air gap copy. I need all these things to be able to do this. They need to be encrypted. They need to do this. They need to be fast recovery, right? So that's not taking away from what safeguarded copy provides, but safeguarded copy now provides you the capabilities of doing it on the primary storage device, which in the event of a disaster or in the event, and by disaster, I mean cyber attack or ransomware attack, you then are able to have another arrow in your quiver that says, I can try to restore everything with this right now, right? Before going to a backup and restore, right? And maybe it works, hopefully it works, maybe you've got everything and maybe you don't have to recover everything out of that, but you have it's another arrow in your quiver for your security team. And what the security team is going to like to hear is it's included, it's no cost. So it's a benefit for all intents for sure.
That's awesome. And I 100% agree with you.
I'll make the plug. We went through it as a Michigan team yesterday. So we had, I think there were 12 of us or so in the room doing this simulated thing. I'll offer that out to anybody. You can find me at Randy at Mainline. If you want to go simulate this, just so you and the customers or whoever want to do it, we'll organize it. And it's a great experience because you deal with insurance guys all the way through CISOs and you understand what they're going through. So it's a great time.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time that you've taken to be with us here today. And I would just ask if either of you, both of you, have anything you'd like to add, your own plug for Mainline, whatever the case might be.
I mean, I'll go first, but it's purely just we'd love the opportunity to work and find any new customers that we can. We have an amazing track record of proving what the right solution is in any aspect of IT, whether it's hardware, software, security, backup, recovery, you name it, networking, Wi-Fi, whatever. We take a different approach to making sure we're adding a substantial amount of high-value people. We have a high-value services abilities to make sure that these things go in quick, easy, fast, with a low time to value. So, I mean, we have a great central region, but that does not mean we don't have a great region out west, southwest, northeast, southeast. We cover nationwide, and we're a very, very large VAR out there.
I think Randy said it best. Give us a try.
Well, gentlemen, I really do appreciate it. Randy and Jack, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And for everybody that's attending and listening or listening after the fact, we really appreciate you taking the time. And if you have things that you're interested in, by all means, reach out and let us know. Reach out to Mainline. They're definitely a quality organization. And with that, we will just thank you all for attending.
Thank you for hosting.
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, everyone. As a reminder, this was recorded and we are going to upload it to our Mid-Market Tech Talk YouTube channel. Thanks for spending your Thursday afternoon with us and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Kat.